I was trying to figure out why the show didn't have anything happening there. All right, welcome to Last Newsdesk on the Left, everybody. I'm your host, Mac Paladin, and that 8 minutes of silence was our requiem for what's about to go down in the Senate. So let's start again, this time a little more coherent, because I couldn't understand any of that.
All right, so, what's going on in the Congress, it's not just the Senate, but...
Should I repeat? Should I go ahead and bring it back up?
I mean, the short form seems to be that certain Congress people are going to cut off their some budget stuff to spite the rest of the budget stuff.
It's a bit more extreme than that, actually.
Yeah,
the reason why I use the Cuban Missile Crisis for the promo image is because it's mutually assured destruction. It's like...
Right. See, here's what's happening. Let's break down what's happening here. So the whole thing that was leading up to this point was there were going to be two major proposals here. The first was the bipartisan infrastructure plan, which is being known as BIP around these parts for some ungodly reason. That is the bipartisan... Yeah, the bipartisan
infrastructure plan.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. That was the first big proposal. The other proposal was the Build Back, Better Plan, or BBB, which is basically the reconciliation proposal, which is going to be a 100% Democratic Party proposal, because the Republicans have already called it socialism or whatever you want to call it, whatever they use. What is happening right now is the progressives are holding the infrastructure portion hostage, not because of any additional policy proposals they want in, or price tag problems, although that could be a case later on down the line. But as of this moment, it's not because of those things, but it's because of the fact of our good friends over in the other chamber, the Senate, Mr. Manchin and Miss Cinema, a.k.a., as we now like to call them, lovingly or not, Manchinima. They are, at the present moment, trying to either water down to complete ineffectiveness, or to even kill, period, the Build Back Better proposal, or the reconciliation plan. And the progressives are not in the business of wanting to repeat what happened with the Obamacare situation, where they pretty much held their nose to get Obamacare passed, even though centrists and moderates pretty much watered it down to the point where it took until 2-3 years in order for it to be fully effective.
Actually, I'm going to stop you right there, because the situation is we've got a new breed of Democrats. The progressives of today are not, by and large, the progressives or, the far leftists that existed 10, 11 years ago.
Right. That's why we're in this situation, because they do not want to repeat what happened back then.
No.
That I noted that they don't want to repeat that because that's what they did back then, and they don't want to do it now, because when they did hold their nose and pass this thing, Democrats got punched in the teeth because people did not feel the effects of it for 3 or 4 years because of what the centrists did. And they know that, and that's why they're doing what they're doing now. Now, at this current time, however, to be it more bluntly, however, the reason why they're holding the infrastructure package up is because Manchinima have not given either Biden, Pelosi, or them terms of negotiation. They have not specifically stated what they wanted. But basically, the only things that they've stated are the only things that they said that they wanted are to undo the Trump taxes on the higher end. Yeah, everybody wants to do that. Extend the child care benefits. Yeah, everybody wants to do that. Oh, and apparently behind the scenes, however, they've been talking about needs testing and work requirements and things that will make everything in the Build Back Better plan completely ineffective because of bureaucracy and everything else, delaying it a multitude of years.
Oh, and there's another layer that's just been added, or more recently, the Hyde Amendment.
Apparently that too. Which, and you know what? Frankly, I would probably put that under whatever. That's probably what's going to happen regardless.
Right. It's like, honestly,
as much as it should be scrapped at this point, considering that we got SCOTUS over there. at this point, it's probably what's going to happen regardless. So I don't know why Manchin made it a point. But then again, he decided to talk to the National Review, so
Not a good look.
no.
But anyway, so okay. Hopefully,
But that's
you got
breaking
all
down.
that. That's the situation we're facing, almost, because there's more. Because here are the current clocks that are being faced. The House vote on the bipartisan infrastructure package, as far as I know, is still slated for tomorrow. Like,
Yes. Yep.
now, that's an interesting facet in and of itself. Because, okay, I will say
Although possibility exists that they could potentially delay it tomorrow.
that's what I was getting to.
Right.
Because I'm like, I will say, point blank, Nancy Pelosi is not going to bring this bill down to have it go down in flames. Like,
No.
it may get delayed, but there's problems with that as well. Because if I'm remembering correctly, the federal highway budget, or there's something related to the highways, is expiring on Friday.
That might be a situation where they just go ahead and pass that on its own.
It's not the biggest ticking clock in the world, admittedly, but it is still one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, a good barometer for this is if the vote's still on, it's passing. If
the vote is gavelled in, like if it's called onto the floor, they either have a good sense of it passing, or Nancy Pelosi has decided, with the fact that she's probably gone after 2022-23, at least in terms of being the speaker / Dem leader, and she's decided to go, you know what, forget it, I'm done, and throwing her hands up. Which would be completely against her brand, admittedly, and completely against everything she's been up to this point. But if she did that, I don't think anybody would be surprised.
No, I think people would be surprised.
Yeah, people would be surprised, but at the same time, probably wouldn't be surprised because
it's
too far.
If you torpedo this, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus if you delay,
right.
for not for like a couple of days or whatever. Like, there's no actual.
I would probably delay it 2 weeks at this point. Frankly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
It's the difference between getting more time, more negotiations, because the matter is everyone leverage here, and nobody wants to give it up. And you're not going to shame or cajole or primary whatever. Those hardline tactics aren't going to fucking work here.
I mean, you can't primary these people. You can't primary Machinima until 2024 anyway.
Right. And the simple, and I know people are fucking tired of them, but
also, even if you primary them, there's no guarantee that West Virginia and Arizona won't vote them back in anyway, because.
Yeah. Well, Manchin will be voted back in anyway because West Virginia is not going to touch that kind of stuff with a 10-foot pole. Arizona, that's a question. In a primary situation, because you kind of don't want to piss off the Democratic base. I mean, in a general, that's fine. But you got to get through a primary first, and I think there's going to be a lot of Arizona Democrats who, are going to see this and not be happy about it. She's going to get a primary opponent at the very least at this point. That's a guarantee. It's just a question of who wants to step up.
Because, national election results aside, Arizona is still decidedly purple. So
what is it? What would be the case in a primary phase? Because in a general phase, I could see her doing well, right? But in a primary situation, like within the actual state Democrats themselves, not
it's hard to say. It's really hard to say because the Arizona Democrats are not nearly as liberal as everybody likes to think that they are, and on top of that, there's only 2 really blue counties here in Arizona. So
if I recall correctly, that the one with. What was it? Tucson, the one with Tucson and
Pima County, and to a lesser extent Pinal County. Everything north of that is various shades of red. It's various shades and hues of red.
Well, Maricopa's purple and the rest is red. Is that a good way of putting it?
That's a pretty good way of putting it. And so it's hard to say because it's like if they put up a Democrat, historically the Democrats that come out of this state are not hard left. So the question would be if they primaried Cinema, what would be the point? Because who would they put in their place? I haven't seen enough out of Mark Kelly to say one way or the other on him. But as far as
Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's been. I think has done a pretty good job of not pissing off either the center or the left. I think at this point, that he's done a.
But he's new, so we haven't seen enough of him to judge yet.
Yeah, but at the same time, Cinema is relatively new too, if you think about it.
Yeah, but she's had some time. She's been in here since 2019. She's had some time to show her true colors. But predict what I'm getting at is the Arizona voters making predictions about what they will do or think based on what Cinema does. She could be doing exactly what the people of this state are like. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we put her in there for, is to slow things down a little bit or something. I don't know. You see, that's the thing is Arizona's crazy like that. We're the same state that put a SB 1070. So.
I'm just wondering is at the same time, in the general phase, I could see her what she's doing now may be working because she probably has a great level of support among the Republicans right now.
Yeah.
I get that, but it's like, at the same time, this also was the state that when they ran against Ducey, they put up a Bernie Act. So, they can misjudge on these races at least once in a while. So it's like.
It's way too early to say.
Yeah, but I'm saying if they put up a Berniak against Cinema in a primary, that Cinema would probably win in a landslide because of the way the state demographic actually works.
Right. Even in a primary phase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the thing that I'm wondering about because I would think that because there is. At least some level of
there's still too many living old people here in Arizona for that to be a winning strategy. I think she's about as safe as Manchin is, to be honest with you.
And it's also, I also keep forgetting that possibly the people who are against her are probably the most unreliable voters of all. So that's another thing to think about. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to curb any unnecessary speculation on this regard and just let's focus on the facts here.
Yeah. That's a good. And then it's a good thing that we had this because that's always in my mind. It's like, okay, would this happen or But anyway, let's get back to business.
Yeah.
The business at hand, the rough business at hand.
Well, yeah. So the business at hand is right now everything's just kind of up in the air,
and not up in the air in a way that you can see where things are moving. It's up in the air in a sense that is anybody going to move?
Who blinks first is basically the question here.
Although I will say this, I don't see a reason why the progressives should blink at the moment.
No,
because they need
they're
something to talk. They need something to negotiate over.
Right.
That's the problem here. Manchinima is not giving the progressives anything to negotiate over, and that's what they want.
One of the big problems is, those two have not even named a number yet.
Yes.
And I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't. It's not clear what they're waiting for.
Yes.
It's like my dad used to say whenever somebody was still sitting at the stoplight after it turned green. He's like, it's not going to get any greener.
Right. What Manchinima are waiting for is the progressives to blink and decay. And they're not going to do that because they don't have any reason to.
Yeah, and also...
All right, let Adam talk.
Also, I've been paying attention to what other Congress people have been saying, and I think Manchin and Cinema are the ones who are going to have to cave because
Yes.
fucking Dick Durbin is getting
Yes.
frustrated at them. He's not, John Tester is getting frustrated at them. These are not people who get frustrated easy at a moderate.
No, they're moderates themselves, relatively moderates themselves. I mean, look.
I've heard
I'm not-
nothing
I'm not-
about. I've
Yes.
heard nothing about the fucking progressives being the pain in the ass here. I have heard many from their fucking contemporaries about those two.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's like, look, everybody is just simply asking them, give us a price tag, give us a range, give us a number, give us something to negotiate over. Biden is ready to cut the deal and to mediate.
Yeah.
He wants to mediate and cut this deal right here. Give him something to give to that other side so we can start this nonsense.
yeah.
That's all he wants. That's all Biden wants. Never mind the progressives. Biden is telling them, give me a number so we can cut this up.
Basically.
Yeah,
And
that's all the progressives and what Biden at the same time want. For Manchinima to stop doing this dance of, well, I want this, I want that, and saying, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And say, yeah, what do you want? You've made pretty clear that you want to water this down to oblivion. But give us a price tag and we can start this negotiation so we can meet in the middle, pass this nonsense, and get the win for everybody.
yeah. And yeah, it's
This
awesome.
and this is not actually why I don't like the whole concept of this whole, brinksmanship and Cuban war status stuff, because it's like
Well,
both sides are lobbing heads at it.
I mean,
well,
This is more like
okay. Break.
one side,
Has anybody seen these articles that says that Schumer says deal has been made to avoid government shutdown? Bloomberg posted this 54 minutes ago.
yeah,
They've extended the situation until December 3rd.
yeah.
right.
I thought it was December 22nd.
No, it's December 22nd from what I saw, yeah.
Okay.
We saw
But
that.
that's the couple. But anyway, back to this. I don't like the whole concept of trying to relate this to the Cuban Missile Crisis, because in that situation it was Soviets and the American side both like looking at each other hard, and in this case it's like one side looking at the other side going, give us something here, and the other side's going, It's not like both sides are completely into combat with each other. It's one side basically sitting back and waiting and tapping their feet with their arms crossed, saying, well, and the other side just whistling a tune.
Maybe, but there are real things at stake here.
Yes,
I
understand that perfectly, but it's like
No, but I want to make other people understand that, especially like on fucking Twitter when I've seen people go that this is just a highway bill. Okay, first of all, our highways need some fucking fixing, right?
yeah.
Like, we need our fucking roads and bridges fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
So,
And I should also point out that the people who are saying this are not the Congress people themselves, or the people in the Progressive Caucus here. It's just media people and then other people on the net. It's not the actual Congress people.
Keeping in mind that these are the same people that are posting memes with false equivalencies and lack of correlation again. It's these are the same people that put out memes that say, Jeff Bezos' net worth and then Mark Zuckerberg's net worth and then minimum wage is $7.25 an hour and tax the rich. And it's like, those two things don't actually correlate to one another, right? Like, I'm all for taxing the rich, but the problem is that taxing the rich does not raise the minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's like you got step A and you got step B in there, but then you skipped C through Y and jumped straight to Z.
Or the fucking root tweet that's been going around, except, it's the military budget instead of candles.
Yeah.
Right.
Budget. It's like, that has nothing to do with what's going on here.
Right. But it's the same people, it's the same people who lack subtlety who are going to decide the next election. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how this hashes out in the hours and days ahead. But we actually got a whole bunch more International news this week, because
Yeah,
we did
elections in 2 separate countries, which
not just elections, but we've had referendums as well.
yeah, too.
Starting with those, gay marriage has been made legal in Switzerland. San Marino has legalized abortions, and the city of Berlin has voted non-binding resolution, but still voted to nationalize a whole bunch of houses.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty good week for leftist politics, I'd say, just on the basis of those alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the main things here are Canada and Germany both had elections.
Well, and Canada was basically a waste of time and money because it basically gave the same, pretty much, coalition government that was there before, or not coalition government, but a minority liberal government that was there before, with a certain little changes, just a few little changes here and there. But basically, with Justin Trudeau and the Liberals still controlling the country on the Canadian side of things. And then in Germany, it's well, wait and see, which is just like that last time, but in this case,
Well, the reason why Germany is so important is because Angela Merkel was a pretty important international figure, even, and she was giving up her seat anyway, I believe.
Yes.
yeah, she was turned out, and her Christian Democratic Union her Christian Democratic Union party lost, technically at the moment lost the election to the Social Democrats under the SDP label.
But from what I've heard, the German election was generally good for the more centrist parties and bad for both extreme left and extreme right parties. So that's something.
Yeah, the centrist parties are basically the CDU center right, SDP center left, the Free Democrats, which are centrist right down the middle, although probably tilt left, I should say very specifically, and the Greens, which are kind of in the middle between SDP and Die Linke, or the left, were, well, although not really much in the middle anymore, more towards the center recently.
And you thought American politics was complex.
Yeah,
well, remember they have parliamentary systems that mean that it's less futile to have multiple parties, because you could get a seat in a coalition government and still have some say in policy.
No, but I understand. But it's just interesting, because you've got all these disparate groups trying to wrangle them.
Right. Now, the outcome, of course, is that nobody gets a majority, so you have to get a coalition to get a majority. And in this situation, we're probably going to have a 3-party coalition. That's a first for Germany. It's mostly been 2 parties, and especially the last couple times it's been so-called GroKo, aka the CDU and the SPD being the coalition government here. But there's likely to be a 3-party coalition here, and it's likely going to be either a so-called traffic light coalition between the Social Democrats, the Free Democrats, and the Greens. The reason it's called traffic light is because the SPD's party color is red. Yeah, that's a surprise to everybody in this country. The FDP, which is yellow, and the Greens, which is, well, duh. The other
purple.
The other potential coalitions are the Jamaica Coalition, based off of the Jamaican flag, with the CDU being black colored, FDP yellow, and green. Well, duh. There's the Kenya Coalition, which is the Christian Democrats in black, the SDP in red, and the Greens in, well, duh. And then the Germany Coalition, which is the German colors of black, red, and yellow, with CDU, SPD, and FDP. The most likely scenario, as I said earlier, is traffic light, because the SPD, the FDP, and the Greens combine for more seats. and
And
get
what color is Alternative?
what?
What color is the party that we're glad isn't getting anything?
The AFD,
Yeah.
blue from what I understand.
Meh. I like blue.
So, well, there you go. But yeah, that's the likely scenario. Whether that's the case is kind of a question because I don't know if you know this or not, but the Greens and the Free Democrats aren't exactly on the same ideological platform on a multitude of issues because the Free Democrats are a pro-business party who want to, well, do what you would think a party that is supportive of pro-business economics wants to do.
And the Greens are an actual Green Party.
In terms of the economics, a lot of things, yes. Although in some cases they've been a little bit more centrist and willing to work in a coalition system, which they have, and they actually do work with the conservatives in a couple of places in Germany. But for all intents and purposes, the Green Party is still still very much on the left side of the political spectrum. And although the FDP tilts left, it also tilts right in terms of economic policy. So it might be a situation where it might take some time to get a coalition together, and they're basically hoping that they can get one towards Christmas. Although it looks like there might be a situation where instead of say these two smaller parties, the Greens and the FDP, are doing two separate talks, it looks like they've decided that they talk to each other before then opening themselves up to either the SPD or the Conservatives, which is probably a better way to get through this because that way you get these two smaller parties on pretty different factions together so that they can open themselves up. And the Christian Democrats have a bit of a problem because their outcome was the worst since they were founded 70 years ago. Like, they never finished below 30%, and they did in this election. And above all else, Angela Merkel's seat, which she held since 1991, went to the Social Democrats in this election. Which she probably isn't very happy about. So yeah, that's going to be something over the next few months. The hope is that they can get a coalition by Christmas. If not, then, well, we get to see Angela Merkel do a national televised address when she, frankly, should already be in retirement. Anyway.
Okay.
Exciting.
Parliamentary politics is fun. Frankly.
I mean, it's a different brand of fun, but it's
actually a more it's actually a better kind of fun than ours, frankly.
Yeah, I'm not
say
convinced.
It is.
I'm not convinced of that.
I say it is.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter because we're never going to have a fucking parliamentary system.
No.
I'm like, I don't know. It's like the UK has dissuaded me so much on fucking parliamentary politics.
Well, yeah, but but I enjoy Canadian and German politics a lot more, frankly.
That's a fair point.
I mean, because it's like there's a lot of things about parliamentary politics that kind of twist your mind as to the American versions of some of these political philosophies, but. Yeah, but I perfectly agree with you on the Britain deal. It's like, Britain's kind of, Britain specifically. Let's put Britain specifically is kind of the one that turned it off because, the country of England is a mess. It's specifically England, So, but yeah, I get it.
Anyway, transitioning to other stories. Activision Blizzard updates. So they have settled on one of the lawsuits they're facing because they think they are. I'm like,
because it's a pittance.
Well, here's the thing. This is a lawsuit brought by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. From what I've gathered and from what I understand, this is about the best it could have done in terms of actual lawsuits. Like, you got to remember, there's a lot of different lawsuits, quite a few different entities bringing lawsuits to, like, if you are looking for punitive damages, I suggest looking at the individual, like the workers of Activision have filed a lawsuit that's probably more in that direction. Like,
class action.
Yeah, it's also, you got to remember these governmental organizations have different aims. Like, and I will agree, I will say that there's definitely some frustration because the $18 million is a pittance in terms of their finances. But I'm like, that's not what that's not what this organization's looking to do. Okay, they're not looking to they're not looking to levy a $1 billion fine because of their past behavior. That's not necessarily their job. What's being established here is a fund for, it's not a direct compensation either. This isn't money that's going to victims of the discrimination. This is setting up a, trying to remember what they called it. But it's an equal opportunity fund. How good or not is, unknown right now. But that is that is what is going on here. It is not a fund that's going directly to the workers. It is a fund dedicated to education, future preventative measures. Just kind of what, like I said, if you're worried about the workers of Activision, there's more lawsuits. We have, just because they settled this one doesn't mean they're out of the fucking water. By any means. Because like I said, they still got the California lawsuit. They still got a they still got to deal with their workers. They still got to deal with the SEC. Granted, that's more of a fine situation, but I'm pretty sure that Activision is guilty of misleading their investors because they didn't fucking disclose the fact that they were under investigation. And that's where the SEC comes in, because if you don't do that, that's where the SEC comes in. That's just and there could be more lawsuits that happen. I will grant you it's a bit bullshit that Activision gets to claim no wrongdoing, but let me tell you, that's pretty fucking standard when it comes to these kind of settlements. They're not unique. They're not fucking special when it comes to not just governmental lawsuits, but individual or class action lawsuits. You see this as well. It's a big reason why the companies settle. It's big. There are a lot of reasons why companies will settle instead of going through the laborious process of a trial. That's one of them. But it's and it's not even necessarily cheaper. In terms of the end fine, it's more. It's less pain. And like I said, I am mixed about this. I'm not down on it because I'm there are other lawsuits, but it's also, I'm not fucking expecting a $1 billion fine. I'm not expecting, it's and let me clear up some things. There are people out there who want Activision to just flat out die. They don't want them to exist anymore because of fair enough, these awful practices, which have been going on for a decade plus. I'm but it's that's not necessarily something that's crouched in the realm of reality. And it's also, if you do that, then, the workers that you profess to and support, they're going to be out of fucking jobs.
Yeah, that's 1,500 people that currently, at least between independent contractors and permanent employees, that's over 1,500 people you're talking about there. So, this whole watch the world burn attitude towards stuff is not the solution to the problem.
No. Like, it's why I've never been a fan of it, because, it's like, and then what? Like, the people who are out of jobs are out of fucking jobs. It's like,
well, and
we're seeing,
well, and also the other issue, and we've discussed this before, is that simply taking them to task or burning them to the ground isn't going to necessarily change the culture and behavior of literally every other company in the business.
Right.
Because if you think that ActiBliz is the only company doing this, I got bad news for you. This is a long, hard road to change this.
Right.
Yeah.
But let us be clear here. ActiBliz is clearly the worst that isn't French. Ubisoft has a lot of the same fucking problems, but they were a lot better at carrying their fucking.
I don't forget their lawsuit against Riot.
No, I know. I'm just saying, Activision is being hit by multiple lawsuits.
I think they were just the most overt. Just the most overt. They're not the worst offender. They're just not as good at burying the bodies.
Possibly, but the point is, Activision Blizzard's kind of become the symbol of this. And yeah, it's like, a lot of what's going on in terms of the lawsuits and the the everything is they're trying to get rid of the harassment. They're trying to change culture. And believe it or not, they're being effective.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said...
Heads are rolling.
Yeah, it's like a lot of Activision Blizzard people are leaving. So, and there are probably more to follow. Now, whether or not that results in, say, Bobby Kotick departing, that remains to be seen. Like I said, that might depend on, like, for example, the SEC. They've subpoenaed him and other Activision executives. It's a whole different ballgame if the SEC rules that they misled their investors, because, spoiler alert, investors don't like being misled.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
They're one of the classes that actually have rights under capitalism.
They're the only ones that the capitalists are beholden to.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're the ones who have the capital.
Right.
So, anyway, point being is, this stuff is still very much ongoing, but it's like, it's like, just don't get too wrapped up in one fucking lawsuit being taken care of, being settled. Now, I'd say be angry if this happens with, like, the California lawsuit or something like that. This was, this was just a side story anyway. Not that it's not important, but, this wasn't kind of the one that everyone's hinging on.
Right.
Because frankly, we basically learned about this EEOC lawsuit, and then, oh look, they settled it.
Yep. So,
like within a day, less than.
Hours, I think.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it this morning. Oh wow, the feds are going after it. Oh wait, they settled it.
Yep.
Anyway, lest you think the fireworks have been put out for this week, we got to get to the entertainment file. Oh boy, do we have some shit this week?
Oh my.
Well, okay, let's start with the Mario movie.
Chris Pratt. Pratt.
That's the problem.
It's not even that he's gonna suck. It's just that, like,
he's there.
He clearly
it's Chris
didn't
Pratt
do it for good reasons, and he's an asshole. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
Chris fucking Pratt.
He's a homophobe, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, I'm like, uh, now. On the other side of the coin, I'm not one of the people. I might be one of the few people who didn't immediately think that Charles Martinet should have gotten the Mario movie role. Hey, okay.
Well,
First
for
of all,
starters, the first person who thought Charles Martinet shouldn't get the movie role is probably Charles Martinet, because he said that his doing of the Mario voice doesn't work well for long things with lots of dialogue.
no,
Yeah.
I've heard him do that, speaking complete sentences and stuff for Wario, and it's never not off-putting.
I think. I mean, if you think about it, I think the fact that he's doing various cameos or whatever is probably
He might be the voice of Wario in this movie. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone's connected those dots yet, but I'm like,
I mean,
Wario
we don't know if he's in there.
fucking Cranky Kong has a voice actor, but
Yeah.
Wario doesn't. Like that's.
Well, that Wario could just not be in it, but yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I'm
That
like,
there's that, but
Wario
it's like
could be the cameo, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Or one of the cameos.
yeah.
Now the one thing I didn't object to, and I called out some people for the audacity of this, was disputing Charlie Day for Luigi, and I'm like, if the breakouts, hold up a second now, if the breakout star of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is not Nega Luigi to you, then I don't know who the fuck is.
Well,
All I know is Luigi better have a fucking board with pins. And him trying to chart all the conspiracies of the Mushroom Kingdom.
yeah.
Right?
I mean, really, the logical response to the whole, oh my god, what the hell's Chris Pratt doing here, is to replace Chris Pratt with DeVito.
Ah, there you go.
I'm like,
I mean, I would have said Captain Lou, but unfortunately he's dead.
Right, exactly.
well,
But
here's the thing, like, Eddie DeVito was in the running to play the live-action Mario in the original Super Mario Brothers movie.
yes,
But he couldn't make it work in terms of schedule. Also, Tom Hanks. Like, yeah. Honestly, they avoided a bullet, because can we stop fucking trying to rehabilitate the Super Mario Brothers movie? No, seriously.
And the other thing I said was, and we also don't have Bob Hoskins available.
No, we don't.
I mean, everybody hated working on that movie. The directors were tyrants. They kept rewriting every 5 seconds. Everybody hated on that movie. I mean, it got to the point where John Leguizamo snuck in frickin' tequila for them to drink on the set.
Yep, and that resulted in Bob Hoskins getting his arm broken.
It was Hopkins, right?
Yeah, Hoskins. Because,
Hoskins with the frickin' pink cast, yes.
Yeah, because his hand got caught in the door of the truck, of the Mario Bros. Truck.
Oh boy.
John Leguizamo was driving drunk. Yeah,
I mean, considering the fact of what they were dealing with, wouldn't you sneak alcohol in the drink?
The thing that saved those people from being considered for this horrific cast is the fact that 3/4 of them are dead.
Pretty much.
Because they would have tried to do it again. You goddamn well know it.
Yeah, they probably would have called them, but they probably would have gone, you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that being said, unfortunately, Chris Pratt is probably not going to be replaced by Charles Martinet. Like,
No.
Like,
I mean, they probably, considering the fact that he's a part of this in some fashion, I think they probably asked him, but he probably said, I can't do this for a long extended period of time. I mean, maybe I could do it for like 20 minutes, but I can't do it for an hour and a half, if not longer.
A lot of people are like, well, Mario is this and Mario is that, and it's like, look, here's the thing about
Mario is intentionally kind of a cipher.
Can you just let me go with this for a sec? Here's the thing about Mario. It is extraordinarily popular in fan fiction right now to portray Mario as a glory-seeking douchebag. and keeping that moderately popular fan sentiment, that he's deliberately holding Luigi back, and he's a narcissist and this and that. It's like, if you actually think about that for a second, it may be why Chris Pratt is the perfect Mario.
Super this.
I mean, this is Illumination we're talking about, so it's clear that Nintendo didn't learn to not give it to people who, probably don't understand what the situation is. Although this movie's probably going to make bank anyway, because it's Illumination. Anything they do makes bank, whether we like it or not.
Well, I can't be like DreamWorks would have been better with this. Look.
Oh yeah, well, obviously.
I mean, in terms of what we're getting really mad about is Hollywood stunt casting for voice acting.
Yes.
Yeah. We got 10,000. We got 10,000 or more potential professional voice actors out there that could have played these roles with aplomb and alacrity. And for some inexplicable reason, we got to take people who have virtually zero experience doing voice acting.
I mean, did you see the Pro ZT thing about it?
No.
Yeah.
But all the professional voice actors, it's like on my friends list on Facebook, I've got about 800 voice actor friends, and the top question on their mind is, why not one of us?
Oh, I can tell you exactly how this happened. Robin Williams in Aladdin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ground
even he
zero.
knew it.
Yes, he did. He didn't want that to happen, but it fucking happened. And
Because
Disney. Yeah, Disney, and then fucking DreamWorks supercharged this with Shrek.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they perfected the art.
Yep.
Everybody's trying. The Robin Williams thing was just a beta test. DreamWorks came in and perfected the art, and now everybody's trying to be DreamWorks. Everybody.
And it's like, if you're upset about this, I have bad news for you. You're about 3 decades too late for this train to be stopping. Because they're not going to stop the Hollywood stunt casting. We're literally talking about Hollywood here.
Yep, as long as it makes bank, it will continue to happen.
Well, and on top of that, not to mention the fact that literally every Miyazaki film that has been translated, it has Hollywood stunt casting involved.
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton as a monk for some reason.
Yeah.
The entire cast of Princess Mononoke.
That's what I was mocking.
Yeah.
Oh.
Howl's Moving Castle. Yes. Ponyo, all fucking things.
Yeah, there's the Ponyo. Yeah, right there.
I will say sometimes it works out. Idris Elba as Knuckles is an inspired choice. But other times you get, like Shark Tale.
Yes.
Will Smith playing Will Smith as a fish.
Pretty much. That's still like the apotheosis of stunt voice casting to me. Because it's very clear that everything was centered around Will Smith.
I don't know. I think everything was centered on De Niro's impression of the Godfather. To be brutally honest with you, because do you really remember anything that Will Smith said in that film, or do you remember what De Niro did?
No, I will say De Niro.
I remember Will Smith had the disturbingly Jessica Rabbit-ish fish girlfriend.
Played by.
I don't fucking remember. I try not to remember much about Shark Tale, honestly.
That is fair.
It's basically a just there film for me.
Angelina Jolie.
Oh, right, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I knew it was someone who was known for being hot, but like,
Yep. I mean, look, this is the thing. It will continue to be a thing because it's Hollywood and they don't really care much.
Look, Angelina has spent her entire life trying to make everybody forget that she's John Voight's daughter. That's a career unto itself.
I mean, she's been very successful at it. I can tell you that. And it's like you look at John Voight and you go, yeah, I can see why you would want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, initially it was, we gave them all different names so that way they could stand on their own, and it's like, also your conservative politics are a bit alarming, dude.
Like, really, really, really alarming. I mean, even Clint Eastwood after the whole, empty chair incident, but like, okay, I'm going back to movies, I'm done.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, he's good old Clint Eastwood with his racist, anti-LGBT dialogue in virtually every film that he's ever done.
Yeah, but at the very least,
backed off and said, "Whoa, John, you've gone a little too far for me."
He went and did that empty chair bit, and then he decided to go, let me just go back to my movie Happy Place here. Let me go ahead and give you work big movies every few years. And hey, let me act when I'm 91 years old this time around, huh?
Oh, he'll stop acting when they put him in the ground.
Yes, probably.
If for no other reason then I feel like he's putting up penance for that little stunt.
The last couple of movies, obviously, maybe his most recent one at least.
Yeah.
His most recent one is basically, let me at least try not to be as much of an a-hole here, and at least try to pretend that I'm a nice guy. It's like, but it's Hollywood. Hollywood is a wild, strange creature that you think you know, but you actually don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of such things, so we got to get to Netflix now. Like,
oh boy.
Because they revealed the opening credits for the Cowboy Bebop remake.
Oh god.
So
they did a pretty good job of replicating Tank in live action, minus any sign of Edward.
Yeah. That's probably going to be. They're probably going to add his stuff in when he comes into season 2, because that's what it feels like what's going to happen here.
Or her,
Or her, right? Her. That's right. Excuse me, but it's like, it's like she's probably coming in season 2.
Yeah, Ed isn't introduced until the second half of the show, so.
Right, and then it's probably,
I'm kind of on an even keel if we'll see Ed, because, okay, point blank, I don't think Radical Edward would work in live action. Simply because, 11, 12-year-old can play a character like that?
Well, I mean, they'll find someone. They'll look.
Plus, Ed is very cartoony for a.
Well, I mean, if you somehow find the right girl to do it, I'm pretty sure you'll pull it off, or at least get as close to pulling it off as they can get, because we very much are still at a point where we don't have any actual clips of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's actually not true.
Well, in the sense where there's like bits and pieces, but there's no dialogue, there's stuff in there.
No. The clips of the show are in the opening. Like they actually.
Yeah, I know that, but it's like, it's not
like,
dialogue. It's not like a full scene. There's only like pieces.
Fair enough, but we do have our first images of what the actual show is going to look like, because they're, even though they're recreating the original Cowboy Bebop OP, they're not doing it one for one, because this is still an American production, and it's doing some American OP things.
Yes.
Whether by necessity or otherwise. But we got not just clips of what episodes, but we got a lot of hey, look, this character like Pierre LaFaux, or the couple who was in episode 1, whose names I can't remember offhand.
Yeah, they show off a lot of side characters.
Yeah. And they also showed off Vicious for the first time, and God, I was worried about this, but
Yeah.
like honestly, like I was worried about Vicious because I'm like, he's one of the characters who's going to be hardest to translate to live action, and he fucking looks awful. Like I'm not sure if it's a cheap. Some of it's probably there is a certain amount of budget going on here, like, but it's also Vicious was always kind of capital A anime. It's honestly why I was never a big.
He's about as Sephiroth as you can get without actually being Sephiroth.
Yeah. Also, Alucard. He's definitely more of a design trend than anyone else of the major cast. Like you can point to like the 4 names and who else looks like Spike or Faye or Jets or Ed. Vicious. Just name 2 examples. Like the silver-haired pretty boy was fairly common at that particular moment in time, and the fucking popularity of Sephiroth did not dissuade that archetype for a good long time. Like, and yet I did hear like people say that it looks like the cosplayer thing. I'm like, he looks the most like a bad cosplayer.
Yeah.
Like, people, we gotta stop fucking insulting cosplayers. It's not like any other.
Indeed.
Although, cosplay does not translate to live-action costume design, because for cosplay, the most acting you have to do is, like, a skit.
Yes.
Not action scenes.
Mm-hmm. I think we covered that beforehand. But
yeah.
It's why, Faye Valentine was never going to look like Faye Valentine in the anime. Her actress called that shit out pretty quickly. Now, she said, 6 foot tall, 2-inch waist. They went with my short ass.
And Pullaman has a point in the chat. Vicious only appears in a few episodes. So they need to spring for top tier acting for him. But also, if you don't like him, he won't be around that much.
Julia was there. I mean, we're making assumptions on that. Because
okay, I'll rephrase that. In the original, Vicious was only there for a few episodes.
Yeah, I think at this point we're making assumptions on a lot of things. I think we need to actually, frankly, wait for the full product to come out here before we do any real judgment.
Or at the very least, we need some plot synopsis of episodes.
To think for a moment, that they're going to just simply replicate the entire original series and that's it. That would be a fallacy.
Because we know that's not how this works.
Well, it's also you don't want to do that. In fact, some of the complaints on the other side of the aisle, believe it or not, are it's too faithful. Because this is always the problem with remakes, especially remakes of a popular thing. If you're just doing the same thing, what's the point? Usually, like the best one of those are like transposing in a different language. Tons of those. But it's like if you're adapting material, you're probably not going to want to do one for one. Otherwise, what's the point?
If you want to give it your own spice. You want to give it your own. You want your own fingerprints on it.
Yeah. Granted, I don't know why Netflix doesn't have Cowboy Bebop available, at least in the U.S. I know, I know that's Funimation, but it's not like they've never had Funimation stuff on their service. They would probably you'd probably want Cowboy Bebop, the original series, there to get people invested.
To get complete.
It's got to be a licensing issue.
Yeah.
Probably, or money, or whatever. Like that's usually what's the case there.
Yeah.
But and Netflix is no stranger to this because they put up the Gundam recap trilogy and counterattack before they unleashed Hathaway to the world. Granted, it worked in reverse because they put up the Sailor Moon Eternal movie before Sailor Moon Crystal showed up.
Yep.
I'm like, that's just kind of the timing of things.
Right.
Like,
It's a Netflix thing.
yeah.
You know.
Well, it's not just Netflix. Like, a lot of things can be
Yeah,
that.
true.
Anyway, yeah. Lots of other Netflix stuff happened because it was like their fan event.
Yeah, pretty much they're pretty much their it's pretty much their event that says, well, you know, Comic-Con is a bit in flux right now. Let's just do our own thing, which will probably be much cheaper and more beneficial for us because we don't have to share with anybody. But
well,
yeah.
This is also seemingly the trend for the major streamers because in October we got the DC Fandom, which has become the by proxy HBO Max thing, and then I think in December we've got the Disney Streamer Day, and then you've got whatever outhouse Peacock is broadcasting their event from.
Whatever abandoned toilet in Central Texas.
No, I wouldn't go that far. Come on now, they're not that cheap. They're cheap, but they're not that cheap.
Okay, whatever Starbucks from the men's room of another Starbucks that they're broadcasting
Outhouse
from.
at least has 2-ply toilet paper.
No. It's actually from the ballroom of a Red Roof Inn. There we go.
I needed that for the segue. Because,
Yeah.
Because it just came out that apparently the row between NBC Universal and YouTube TV is over Peacock. Like,
Because of course it is.
Of course.
yeah. So
Surprise!
In case you missed this particular story, and understandable, because YouTube TV, apparently the problem is the cable industry keep following us around because this is the kind of shit we see in cable, and we were supposed to get away from. But oops.
We also were supposed to get away from the fact that cable was expensive with these internet streamers, but guess what? The cable providers decided to jack up the price of these channels, and those prices came directly to you, and thus these so-called streaming services are now just as expensive as cable. Surprise!
It's also Netflix's own success. They were so successful, everyone wants a piece of this fucking pie now.
Yeah, everyone's a piece of something.
Anyway, getting back to this particular row, apparently at the end of the month, all of NBC Universal's channels will be pulled from YouTube TV. And it's because YouTube TV doesn't want to bundle Peacock, which I believe is a competitor to
YouTube.
Yep.
And as compensation, apparently, when and if this is probably going to happen, by the way, because this is not the first time this has happened. I'll get to that in a second, but YouTube TV is going to be $10 cheaper. That is nice, I will say.
Funny how that works. How that works.
Well, it's an actual passing on of the savings to the consumer, which doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, well, and it also says that, you know, NBC Universal is worth $10 more on your bill, which says a lot.
But it's also, once again, this parallels another incident that happened with Amazon. Not their Prime Video service, but they do carry cable channels on Amazon. You can purchase them, and they got into a row with Warner Media, Warner Brothers, Discovery, Warner Brothers, whatever the fuck we're calling them this week.
It's Warner Brothers right now. It's not going to be Discovery Warner Brothers until next year.
Yeah, right. Anyway, they got into a row that over HBO on the Amazon service. I think that was in relation to HBO Max, and the end result is all HBO programming got pulled off of Amazon. Okay, this is actually a bit of a problem because a lot of fair amount of HBO viewership watched through Amazon. Enough where HBO Max is now running a fucking $9.99 deal if you had it through Amazon.
That's a lot to you, doesn't it?
So expect more of this as everyone
Yeah.
continues building their own fucking fortresses. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna come a time when Viacom wants to do this trick.
Well, I'm like, they got approximately 500 of these, so they could stand to do it with a bit of consolidation.
Yeah.
No, seriously, they got like Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, probably missing some. You know, I think they Tubi? Is that them?
No, that's Fox.
Okay.
Tubi is Fox.
Yeah. Still, that's quite a bit there on its own. Like,
Yeah.
because Pluto is quite expansive in its own right. Like,
I
anyway.
mean, they just had to do with FCC consent decree over closed captions today.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that'll about do us for this week.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. And remember, folks, next week when we talk about entertainment, it's IATSE week.
Oh boy.
What?
Yeah, the IATSE strike authorization vote starts tomorrow, October 1st, and ends on October 3rd. They will announce the results on October 4th. And if it's a yes, you will hear about it.
Oh yeah.
That's next week, folks. Join us then.
Indeed. In studio news, I should point out that I have made an announcement on the Fragments channel and on Various Game Studios. However, starting next week, I will be playing on a physical console using a capture device. I will be starting my run with Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap.
Interesting.
And that will be my new Thursday stream, Thursday long play going forward to expand the repertoire of Mac Paladin's Retro Gaming Emporium. So we are not forsaking MS Saga. I'm simply adding to the menagerie here, and that will be going on starting next week. In the meantime, tomorrow, assuming I can get these edits done in a timely fashion and also fix all of my highlights for past broadcasts without deleting them, like our Apex Legends play.
Yeah, that's good if you can do that.
Yeah, I'm still about 16 videos behind, but I gotta finish processing these highlights because I was 48 videos behind and in danger of losing my VODs. Including one episode of Last Newsdesk on the Left that I managed to salvage at the last possible second. So if everybody wants to see our archive, that will be a thing. However, tomorrow I will be airing, starting at approximately 3 p.m. Pacific time. I will begin airing an expansive series of Genshin Impact videos that I am calling The Road to Inazuma because that is the next major story element that was released with the 2.0 version of Genshin Impact.
Translators note: Inazuma means lightning.
Yep.
Yeah.
And considering that is the home of the Electro Archon, that makes sense. But I completed the Geo Archon arc on our last expanded Genshin Impact stream, and I will be beginning in Inazuma at some point in the not so distant future. So all of the major story elements leading up to that point will be consolidated into a roughly 6-hour stream of videos that I have been compiling over the past 2 weeks. So so that's something to look forward to. So tomorrow, starting at 3 p.m., we have at least 4, possibly 6 or more hours of videos of me doing stuff and things, trying to fill in all the gaps in the storyline up to that point. So that's what's going on tomorrow, and then next week, like I said, we'll be beginning a long play of The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. I have my GameCube, my Pinnacle USB 700 capture device, and the GameCube Game Boy Advance player. I tried the emulators. They did not work out for me. And so this is the route I will be taking to do that long play. So more Zelda, yay! So we'll see. We'll see if I complete that or MS Saga first, thus making that my second or possibly third complete long play of a game on this channel. So
Minish Cap isn't that long, so
yeah, well, it took me a while to get through Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, so, and that was our first complete long play.
I feel like Minish Cap is shorter than that, but could be impressions.
With the shrinking and all that stuff, they doubled the size of the world. It was an interesting trick. It was an interesting
You can
gimmick.
really only do that in some places, though. There are still only really 4 dungeons.
There's 8. There's 8. There's
right. Yep. Never mind.
yeah. There.
8 is still less.
What, the 9? You still have
10.
It actually surprisingly has the same number of major dungeons because you also have the castle. You have 8 main dungeons. You have 2 versions of the castle, and then you have the final area. So I think
Link to the Past has 11 or 12. Unless you're not even counting the Light World ones.
you're splitting hairs. They managed to make this game, in terms of hours of gameplay, they managed to make it exactly as long as Link to the Past, or A Link Between Worlds, or any other game involving top-down perspective. I've played this game to completion multiple times. Believe me, I know the length of this game, and it is extensive, especially if you go and find all of the kinstones. That quest is fucking insane. Now, will I be doing a completionist run? That's up for debate.
The Kingstones.
I don't dislike that gimmick, but I do dislike having an entire button that only does that gimmick.
But anyway, that'll be starting next week, and you know, I may put in a smattering of other test streams here and there, starting after that. So, you know, because I did keep promising everybody that I was going to start playing Chaos Legion. So we'll see how that goes. But until next time, that was Last News Desk on the Left, and I am your host, Mac Paladin. On behalf of the crew here at Last News Desk on the Left, I thank you for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.
Mask up and vax up, y'all.